really excited to introduce you to our next guest in Author's Corner. We had a great off-air conversation, and he tackled a question that I have wondered for a very long time, and I think many of you have too. Let me give you a little quick background before we go to Greg Van Arsdale. And here's the deal. He was heavily recruited by the Navy because of his mind. He went to school on a physics scholarship. He ended up really rising through the ranks, if you will. He was an officer instructor for the Naval Nuclear Power School. And imagine what you're learning there. And then he moves on to become a training manager for Florida Power and Light. And he was pondering a lot of things, but certainly one of the things that is my big burning question, he learned quantum mechanics in school and said that, he found questions and dilemmas that physics, when you looked at physics, could it be answered or not be answered when you talked about energy, the dark energy, this new form of non-atomic energy. So here's the deal. He wrote the dual energy concept, and then also he wrote a book that that we're talking about here today, along with that one, Beyond Mere Belief. Married the two, and I think you need to read both of them for the reason that we're going to talk about here. So, Greg, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure.
So you have a big brain. You do. You have a big brain to go through, get a physics scholarship and go through the things that I said. That's why I listed what you did. But you had this burning question that I said I think so many of us have. And what was that question?
The question was, why, how, in terms of understanding the nature of reality and understanding in terms of beyond mere belief what we believe and why. That's so misunderstood nowadays.
Yeah, and in our conversation, and what many people experience is, well, it's this answer back of just believe, because just believe. That's what you do. That's what you're taught. Just believe it. Here it is. And when we're talking about that, we're talking about, if you look at Christianity, for example, you could look at religion, you could look at other aspects of our life, certainly, but definitely with religion. And you wanted to go deeper than that. So what was it like for you to dig deeper, and what did you come away with?
Well, as you stated, as I grew up, I grew up with in a religious background, and as I asked questions about what I was being taught, I was just told, you're not supposed to understand that. Just believe it. And that always struck a wrong chord in my life. And as I got into science actually has its own version of just believe. They call it quantum weirdness. When they get to something that they can't explain, they just say, it's quantum weirdness. And so as I developed the dual energy concept, I found that by including another form of energy into the equation, I can answer both in science and in Christianity, but just believe question. In science, quantum weirdness goes away. But more importantly, in Christianity, with this other form of energy, we no longer have to be chained in the notion of just believe. That's why Beyond Mere Belief, as you said, my book is known. That's why it remains the cornerstone of my writing career.
Yeah, so let's talk about that specifically. What does somebody learn? What's the takeaway when they read the book? What will they walk away with beyond mere belief? What will they find out?
Oh, they'll have insights into the soul, because I've always been asked the question, well, what is the soul? I went to school with a lot of very intelligent people, and I worked with some extremely intelligent people. And when I talk to them about the soul or salvation or et cetera, they come back to me with, what is the soul? Where is it? what does saved mean? And I found myself flat-footed. And so what I did with Beyond Mere Belief is write it down in a way that the people can understand in physical, tactile terms what a soul is. What's the difference with that and the spirit? What is salvation? Is salvation a concept? Or is it something that physically happens to the soul? And it's things like this. Even the nature of God. I can't draw a box around God and say, this is him, this is what God is. But I can explain what God has shown to us. And these types of questions are what they'll come away with Beyond Mere Belief.
Yeah, I like the question of what is a soul, because I can remember I was so young in school, and I went to Catholic school, and I remember that was the question. It was on the chalkboard, what is a soul? And really we were kind of scared because the descriptions didn't match what we were thinking, and there was never any explanation, and that's the brilliance of this. For you, I think you're a guy who, in our conversations, you seem like you're at peace. So once you dug this out, went deeper, do you feel like you're at peace because you have these answers?
Oh, definitely. It's from a very young age, I felt like I was needed. My purpose in life was to explain things. That's why I went into physics to begin with, because I liked learning how things understand and I became an instructor because I love teaching. And so with Beyond Mere Belief, I'm able to complete my purpose in life, my reason for being here on earth. And so it was very important to me, and I am at peace with being able to express that finally in written form.
Yeah. And for people, and you've written so many books, you've written The Stranger, the Genesis Project series, Part 1, New Beginnings, Endgame, The Final Day, The Priestley Murders, Hijacked on the Alaskan Seas. When do you have time? The Colombian Connection, the list goes on and on and on. And of course, the dual concept and what we're talking about here, Beyond Mere Belief. What do people tell you about reading Beyond Mere Belief and the dual energy concept?
What do they tell me?
Yeah, what's their reaction to people you know that have read it?
Well, mainly I get my main reaction from the young audience. The older people, like the professors and stuff like that I talk to, they're rather indentured into the old concept. I mean, they were taught what they were taught back in the day, and they have so much invested in it. But the young people coming out of high school and into college, they're hungry and for that knowledge. They want more than just believe. And so that's what I come away with. That's who my biggest target audience is the millennials, the people who really want to understand what's going on, and they have questions not only in science, but they also have questions in terms of religion, and so I'm able to give that to them.
Yeah, so interesting. Fascinating book. Again, Beyond Mere Belief. And I love what's right above the title. No longer must we be chained to the notion of just believe. And I've seen this with younger people too, Greg. So I so agree, where they ask question after question they want to know, and especially when it comes to theology and science. Greg Van Arsdale, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah, it's so interesting in talking to Greg. It made me think, he made the light bulb pop on in my head, too. My 19-year-old nephew, who's been working with me, I've talked a lot about him. He always is asking me more questions. And that notion, like he says, of just believe, that doesn't wash. And especially, it's interesting because in the two target areas that Greg's talking about, that's where some of our conversations are. And it's interesting when you take science and then you take religion, and that makes sense of just when you can't find the answer, and the answer before was, well, just believe, and that's not acceptable. So his book goes really, really deep. It is fascinating, and at the beginning of this, that's why I really emphasized what his background was, the fact that he was this big brain physics guy and just flew up the chain, like I said, in the Navy, and was an instructor. You got to think about nukes, and you got to think about naval nuclear power school and what that is. So he was steeped in science too, and then trying to answer the questions in both of those areas, which they can be at odds, certainly, when you talk about science and religion. So anyway, you can get that on Amazon, Beyond Mere Belief. Thanks so much to all of you for listening to the show. We'll catch you down the road.